Hey everybody, this is Perch. Not to be outdone, DC has announced their big summer event. Now they're still about 5 events behind Marvel this year, but in a little bit of time, a little bit of focus and hard work, they can catch up. But anyway, this event is called DC's Night Terrors, and is kind of a similar logo and color scheme and everything to Gotham Knights. But anyway, Night Terrors promises to send heroes into their worst nightmares this summer, which is basically that the event will be written by Steve Orlando. And no, I'm just kidding. That's my nightmare. Anyway, so this is an event for July and August, and it's well, here I'll read it to you. It's going to have a core Night Terrors title, along with a number of 2-issue limited series, i.e., the cash grab way, each of which will feature a DC character being sucked into the nightmare realm to confront their darkest fears head on. It's going to be written by Joshua Williamson, who did Dark Crisis, and artist Howard Porter, who will spearhead the core Night Terrors title, and other creators will be named at a later date. So basically, it's the pitch. Is I love horror comics, and it's been a blast bringing the energy to Dawn of DC. Night Terror showcases the horror side of our heroes as a brand new villain confronts them with their worst nightmares, says Josh Williamson. It's a fun and horrific event that brings together all the heroes and the villains of DC, along with some surprises. Mainly that the comics will be written by Steve Orlando. No, sorry. It will begin in July. It will be in the free comic book day. And then the bigger news here is that it's going to feature art from Chris Bachalo, who's going to be coming back to DC, who hasn't been, I think the last thing he did there regularly was Shade. No, that he did things more recently than that, but he had an epic Shade run. But this is pretty cool to see Bachalo back in action. What's a little curious about that is that I talked to a few people at Marvel and basically said, why haven't we put Bachalo on anything? And of course, he did have kind of a pretty bad illness that he recovered from. But then I was hearing 2 different stories. I was hearing people from Marvel saying, oh, he's still sick. He's not really interested in ongoing work. And then I was hearing people from the Bachalo side saying, nobody reaches out to me, and I've reached out, and nobody will get back to me. So apparently DC got back to them. Who had that one? Who thought that was coming in 2023? But basically, this new villain looks like kind of if the cover art is to believe, looks like kind of a demon Skeletor, or I don't know. Anyway, it's basically going to appears to be a little bit of kind of the heavy metal, or is heavy, not heavy metal, metal, dark metal crisis, metal of infinite dark metal, death metal. There we go. A little bit of that kind of feel, and that demonic versions of the characters will have to confront what happens if they go bad. Everything else, but this is their new series. Now DC has laid out a big kind of slate for 2023. Night Terrors is their summer event. We're getting the Justice League returning here later in the fall, and so anyway, that's kind of what we have now. It says Night Terrors, and even though it's saying it's going to impact the entire DC universe, the book does use the night as in the Dark Knight spelling. It's got the little Batman or somewhat of a bat logo there at the bottom. So this does seem to either be helmed by Batman or key to Batman, or maybe it's a little bit like Death Metal, where it was a Batman level event, but of course everyone played in it. But that's what we're getting. The preview art suggests the Trinity of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. We see a couple, more unique characters I haven't seen for a while. Sandman, the classic one, and not the Neil Gaiman one. Zatanna, Harley Quinn, who seems to be in everything, more or less. Deadman. So anyway, lots going on there. But this is DC's big summer event, Night Terrors, and from what I can gather, their current launch, the Dawn of DC, is doing okay. Passable, maybe the best way to put it. I think it hasn't gotten the attention that I think DC was hoping for. It feels like Dark Crisis ended a little bit softer than they expected or hoped. And Lazarus Planet certainly seemed kind of fun, but it doesn't seem to be getting a big push either. So there's more or less some skepticism, I would say, in how that is rolling out. Shops are reporting some softness more softness than expected. So DC's still trying to find kind of their thing. Maybe a event that kind of teases a lot of Batman involvement is it. I'm curious about this kind of approach to horror. I think when you're doing this kind of work, how horror you go is, how horror can you go? Is a big question. When you've got Superman there and they're running with kind of optimism and other things, I don't quite. I think it's going to be a struggle for them to really be able to sell that we're getting true horror in comics. It's not the audience I think that they really know what to do with there. It's never been anything that I think in the mainstream has been really been able to be pulled off. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope, I'd like for them to pull it off. I think horror and more of kind of these scary elements is something that have done well. You can do it, but as a crossover event, it's hard not to believe that this is, DC heroes go up against a villain we haven't ever really seen before. He introduces spooky versions of themselves, and that's that. But Howard Porter, definitely a big fan of Howard Porter. I think he does great work. Josh Williamson has put in a lot of good energy, good stuff into DC over the years. So I would very much like to see kind of a really good event come out of him. I think he's got the right pieces and parts to do it. It's just that Dark Crisis event was kind of the chance to shine, and it did kind of fall a little bit flat. And then Chris Bachalo, I seeing him kind of portray a lot of these characters is super cool. Anxious to see that and how it comes across. So, hopefully this is a sign of more to come there. I think Chris Bachalo regularly doing comics is great. Obviously, he is older, so he may not want a full schedule. So that part of the story may be true, but he certainly seems like he's got plenty in the tank and wants to do more. So I'm glad that he's finally doing more. I didn't see him move to DC coming either, because he's been such an established creator over at Marvel for so long. But what do you think? So are you up for this? Are you into Night Terrors? Is this an event you would go? What do you think about horror? How would you portray it? And what's your prediction for this? Is it going to feel like just kind of another event that comes and goes, and we forget about it pretty quickly after it happens? Or do you think that we're going to get something truly interesting, truly unique? Are we put this way? The last horror event that did real well for DC, and it was probably their last event that did well in general, was Blackest Night, which had plenty of horror elements, and that one is very fondly remembered by a lot of the fans. So, do you think there's a chance it can tap into that energy? Let me know in the comments below. Are you going to buy it? Are you looking forward to it? And thanks for listening.